Hello, am I audible, students? Can you confirm? Good evening, Aradhya. Good evening, London. Yes. Okay. Is the voice proper or is there some background noise or some kind of error? Good evening. Voice okay. Okay. Proper. Okay. And video is of course fine. So yeah, we'll get started on a new topic today. And before getting started, we'll just wait for a few minutes for everyone to join and let me set up everything. Voice getting cut just now. Is the voice getting cut for everyone? If it persists, I'll just have earphones. Okay. Uh, yeah. No. Voice is good. Okay. Second. And Ravinder and Joseph. Likit, do you want to unmute yourself for this doubt? I'm not sure why it is coming. No voice. I was not speaking. Hello. Likit asked a doubt and you cannot unmute. So why is you're getting? Just give me 1 second. If you're getting surrounding noise, I'll. Um, yeah, I know. So in between, there might be some background noise. Just give me 1 minute. I'll just put on some earphones, and that will solve the problem of noise very well. I'm looking at Likit's doubt right now. Likit has a doubt where his computer is not getting connected, and I would like to know why this doubt is coming. Can you tell me more about this doubt, Likit? Uh, Vivek is also having a problem. Uh, Vivek's doubt is. Please help me. Looks like internet connection is slow. Yeah, you can just refresh. That should not be a problem. Okay. Uh, yeah. Likhit's doubt is something I'm more concerned. You're trying to make a new connection. So our connection is already established, or do you already have a connection or not? No connection. Okay. Um, just give me 1 second. Did you change any? Something Same thing happened with me. Okay. Did you change something in this? Like, uh, okay. Can you show me the advanced option? Have you saved some advanced option also? Anything changed from the last time you connected? Look at. Not to me. Okay. Vivek, what you can do is you can just uh, clear your browser history. Uh, uh, you can clear the browser history, Vivek, and it should work. Okay. You can clear the browser history, and probably it will work. Let me see what is the problem that Likhit is having. Hmm. Seems to be okay to me. Connect e-connection refused. Yeah, your MongoDB is not running. Your background process, as rightly pointed out by Nikhil, when Lanjan, your background process is not running. So let me see how to run the background process. Maybe you have to just run MongoD from that folder. Uh, give me 1 second. Yeah, just go to MongoD and click MongoD server you have to run on the background. Maybe run that, or maybe what you can do is you can close out all the processes related to MongoD and then, okay, did that work? Or did that work, Likit? Did going to bin and running MongoD worked? Or maybe you can just close off. Yes, it worked, but what is the problem? Uh, Compass shows same error. Can you close Compass and open it again? After running the process, can you close the Compass and open it again? Uh, just give me 1 second. Let me also check my Compass if this string is correct or not. Uh, Compass. Hmm, MongoDB colon localhost colon 2717 seems to be correct. Just give me 1 second. Let me Google this error. Connect E connect refuse MongoDB. It's the standard error. Just give me 1 second. Okay, just uh, can you check for this file? Maybe the file that is there is corrupt. There's a temporary file called as, just let me share my screen. Uh, Let me reduce this. No, no, no. I'll show you like it. Uh, I'll show you how to do it. Maybe you can try this solution. What you can do is, you can go to and try to find this file, MongoD 20 temp in the temp folder. Try to find this file 27017. Okay, uh, and you can remove this file, delete this file, and then start again. I mean, this file is corrupt. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Wait a second. Don't delete that file. No, why not? Likely person should done stop doing it. No. I don't see a point in deleting. My guess is that MongoDB file is corrupt, but this is the best answer. Let me check other places. I think you have to delete that file, but let me check at other places. On Stack Overflow, what does people say? This is a common error. This happens. Sudo service MongoDB start. Uh, yeah, MongoDB start. Replacing localhost present. And okay. This might actually work. Can you try instead of localhost? Can you try 0000? Like it. Let's see if that 0000 will work. Uh, Let me see what is the question that the other person is asking. Navneet, please help me with this doubt. What is the doubt? I'm not getting Navneet. MongoDB control and hotfix. That is MongoDB shell connecting to test network. Connect failed. Could not connect to server. Should fail after milliseconds. Okay, your connection is getting failed. You just run this. Have you tried opening? Have you tried opening Mongo Bash? Sorry, Mongo Campus, Mongo DB Campus. No, not that way, Likit. Not that way. Try this one. This let me tell you. Uh, just try Mongo DB colon slash slash 0.0.0.0 colon 27. What is the number? What is the number? Let me open MongoDB. The number is 2717. 27017. Try this. Like it. Try this one. See if it is working. Connection refused on this. Try to find this file. Uh, Try to find this file. This seems to be the file. Folder. Can you try this one? Mongo, go to the folder, bin folder. Go to the bin folder, and inside the bin folder, write this command. Uh, mongo.exe uh, space dash dash db path, and write. Oh yes, no. What is Navneet? Your command was in double quotes. Okay. Uh, this one, inside this you can just do uh, this one, c colon data colon. No, I'm not happy with this solution. Oh, no. Like this. This should work. Just look at this one. Share. Go to search. Click services. Right here, services. Click on services. There's app will open up. Okay. In this, there should be MOngo DB. There should be uh, MongoDB server. For me, it is running. Can you check if it is working? It is running. Likit, is the MongoDB server running? Likit, hello, Nilanjan. What did Nilanjan say? What did Nilanjan say? I think this is what you have to do. Yeah, yeah, exactly the same thing. Okay, this is the thing. Thank you, Nilanjan. Okay, I just okay. Now I'll open up the second doubt, which was this guy. He is writing the solution in quotes. Without quotes, what you need to do is, what is his name? Navneet, what you have to do is, instead of writing C program files, MongoDB server 3 bin, what you need to do is open command prompt in that folder. Let me show you how you can open. In my service folder, MongoDB is not present. In my service folder, MongoDB is not present. So Navneet, what you have to do is do like this. Let me show it to you. Uh, just open this. Okay. Just click on the folder. Once you click on the folder, go to program files, go to C folder, go to program files. In program files, go to MongoDB. Inside MongoDB, open server 6.0 bin. Inside bin, there is Mongo MongoD.exe. Just click on this file. That's all you need to do. Okay? Can you do this? Navneet, in my service folder, MongoDB is not present. Now is it working? Now can you check MongoDB Compass? Navneet? It's not working. What is the error you are getting on MongoDB Compass? Can you paste the screenshot of that? What is the error you are getting on MongoDB Compass? And MongoDB can't run from MongoDB software. First command line we have installed Mongo. I think you are right. We have to install Mongo shell. That is, it's only 1 second. It's opening. Uh, I think that is right, Nilanjan. You need a Mongo shell application. But I think if you why is Compass running on my computer then? If I'm running Compass, yes, Vivek. I'm going to open your doubt in few minutes, Vivek. Vivek, you also had a doubt, so I'm going to open that in few minutes. I hope your computer is working fine now, Vivek. Okay, so I'm just clearing out doubt of everyone. Doubt solved. Okay. Uh, Navneet, what is it coming? View doubt, read out. What is the doubt which is coming? Now it is working fine using Mongoose. Yeah, it is working fine. I think it is working fine. Yes, I think it is working fine. And what is it? Instagram. Let me stop sharing my screen. And Pin and MongoDB. I think this is third version. So you already have shell installed. Hmm. Yeah. Diagram. Yeah. So since he has a version 3 of MongoDB server, he already has shell. So he can run directly. Okay, Navneet, what is the error you are getting? I think you are not getting any error. You are getting your code is running. Let me go back. This is the error. You're getting it proper. Hello, Navneet, are you okay? Can you reply? Is everything working fine? Are you facing some error? What is going on? Do you want to unmute yourself? Yes, I can connect after class. You have my mobile number, no? You can just connect with me on mobile and I'll help you out. Okay. Uh, Anyone else has any other doubt that they want me to clear? You don't have. It's this 8185970934. Just connect me on WhatsApp and I'll try to help you out. 8185970934. Okay. Anytime you have any doubt or any difficulty, you can just connect with me and I'll help you out. Uh, Sir, can we also connect to WhatsApp if having error? Yes, you can connect. That's completely fine, Nilanjan. You can just connect to me on WhatsApp. I typically like people connecting me on WhatsApp first. But if you have an urgent doubt or something, you can also call. That's also fine. Not a big deal. Okay. So this is done. This is done. This is done. Okay. You are most welcome, Dipanshu. Okay. So today we are going to talk about, let me go back to the slide, first slide of the day. Today we are going to talk about data modeling in MongoDB. How do you model data while creating MongoDB database? With great flexibility comes great responsibility. This is the concept of NoSQL databases. When you have NoSQL databases, you have lots of flexibility. But then with that lots of flexibility, you need a lot of responsibility. So what is the responsibility that you have? Before starting out on NoSQL databases, you should know what is the use case, what is the requirement. If you don't know the requirement, your model might get your software might get very bad time complexity, because if you do join, if so ideally you don't need a join in MongoDB. But if you try to do a join on MongoDB, it's very expensive. No audio? Hello, is this only Vishal or everyone is not getting the audio? Is the audio coming? Okay, okay, sure. So what I'm saying is, uh, if you don't know the requirement upfront and you try to create a system which is not suitable for the use cases that you're looking for, then the problem might occur that uh, the time complexity might run, because if you want to do joins in case of NoSQL databases, they are very expensive. You cannot do joins. You typically don't do joins. Okay. Join is the key thing that you want to avoid. So you need to know the requirements before designing the data structure. There are two types of ways in which relationships can be modeled. There are two types of ways in which relationship between data can be modeled. One is called as embedded data, and the other is called as reference data, references. What does this means? Hmm. So there are two ways of designing a user document. Okay. First is this user. You can have an ID. Let's say the ID is an object ID. Some object ID is there. And you have a username. Let's say the username is 123XYZ. And you have contact. In the contact, you have two things. One is phone, which is 1234566. Let's say 1234566. And you have email. Email is xyz@gmail.com. Suppose this is what you have saved as the contact. And then there is access. What is the access you are allowing for this user in your system? Some system, I'm just giving you an example. Access level 5, group is dev. Some developer is there who gets access number 5. Okay. And then you just close off everything. This is one way of creating a user document. There is also one more way, which is have a user document which looks like this. ID should be ID. Let's say the ID is some object ID and username. Username is 123XYZ. So here I have embedded the document details of this user inside a single document. Here I have just written the ID and the username. Now what I do is I define a contact document which will contain a ID. This is also object ID and user ID. I'll write the user ID here. This ID, which is this ID, reference like SID in Google and Facebook. Yes, exactly. References like SIG. What is SIG in Google or Facebook? What is SIG, Suraj? Uh, let's call this ID as uh, let's call this ID as object 123, object ID 123, object ID 123, sign in. Okay, 123. And yes, I'm talking about reference. There are two ways of storing data. One is embedding data and the other is referencing it. In reference, you can have an object ID which is same across two different collections. This is one collection of user documents in which there is a document for this user, and there is a collection for contact in which there is a document for this user which contains the phone. And what is the difference between both? Yes, I'm going to discuss that. You didn't get the difference. Okay, you get the difference that you are saving these across two different collections. Vivek, do you see that? No, you're not getting it. Okay, I'll try to help you. Suppose there are two ways of storing data about a user. One is to have a user collection. Okay, I can have a user collection which contains all the data for individual users. Okay, that is one option. Other option is I can have a user collection, a contact collection, and an access collection. I have three different collections in my data. Do you know what collections are? You know what collections are? Yes. So you have user collection, contact collection, and access collection. And now what you do is in access collection, you again write ID as some object ID. I don't care about this. And then there is a user ID. This user ID is same as this user ID. Okay. So now there are three documents for a single user. Now, does that make sense? Does that make sense, Vivek? Three documents for a single user. Anytime you want all the contacts of all the users, you just have to go to collection of users, contact collection of contacts. When you want all the access patterns of all the users, you can directly go to access group. Okay. But if you want to find all the details about a particular user, about a single user, you want to find what is the username, what is the contact detail, and what is the access pattern of that user. If you are looking for user profile, then you have to do join of this collection with this collection with this collection. Yeah, embedded data is doing the same thing. So you have two options, but you can choose between these two options, either this or either that, either one or two. You cannot do both. You will not do both of them. Okay. So what is the pros and cons of these two options? Which is better? This is our typical question that will come to your mind when you are doing this. Which is better? It depends on your access pattern. If most of the times you are looking for only the aggregate data, you want to find out all the contacts. If you want to find out all the access patterns, if you want to find all the access documents, then reference is required. It's a common concept across multiple NoSQL databases. Okay, Ankit, this is common. Which is better to do future? The reference is better to do future analysis, but when you want to access users on general basis, yeah, I'll give you the use scenarios for both of them. So suppose let me give you some examples of this, and I'm going to write it in the notes part of. I'll write some notes in the VS Code as well. So embedded and references. Embedded is when I'm interested in user profiles. When I want to get the user profiles on repeated basis, maybe there is a page which wants the user profile all the time. Okay. If you keep on wanting user profiles, then embedded is good. If you are looking for some kind of analytics on contacts, and access, then reference is better. Those are the two broader categories of use cases. Okay. Embedded will take more space. It will take more space because embedded will take more space because what will happen is there can be cases where the same thing is copied again and again. You can do one thing. You can have bunch of user ID saved along with a given access level. So what you can do is for these all these user ID, this is the access pattern. So you can save data. You can save space in this case in references because everything is saved only once. So this saves the space. Okay. Now embedded requires no join. Does not require join. Doesn't require joins. This one requires join. Requires join to get the user profile. Okay, these are the changes that are those are the differences between the embedded and references. Okay, this has no repetition, and this has repetitions. Okay, now does this make sense? Hello, Vivek. Repetition means the data is repeated. So have you seen this? Have you seen this in how do I put it? How it's repeating? How it is repeating? So suppose two people have the same access pattern, exact same access pattern as there for user one and user two. Both of them have same access pattern. In this case, both of them will have the copy of this access pattern in uh, both of their documents. But what I can do is in this access collection, what I can do is I can do user IDs as an array. I can have user one and user two as comma separated numbers. Then there is only one access pattern that is needed for both the users. Does that make sense, Vivek? You can save all the dev access pattern in one place, and you can save all the other access patterns at one place like that. Okay. So therefore, there's no repetition in reference. There's repetition in embedded data. Those are the two general types. Those are the key types in which you can save data and work around with it. And this will keep on coming to you. Like there's one more thing that you have to remember. This has individual documents. Docs are larger. What will happen is the document for user will become very large because it contain if there were more details about the user, the document for user can become very large. This contains very small documents. This contains, so in MongoDB there is a limit that one document cannot be greater than 16 MB. Okay, now if your documents are only like embedded documents only, if you are only using embedded document, then it might be the case that your data can overrun 16 MB limit. So those are a couple of differences between references and embedded. Okay. There's one more thing that you need to understand about. And how do I put it? Okay. There's one more distinction that I want you to make, which is the distinction of atomicity. You know what is atomicity? Atomic, atomization, atom, atomic operations. Remember the acid operations? Acid. In acid, there was a word A, which was atomic, which means that if uh, you don't remember atomic, so if I change a document, if I update a document, only that document should be logged and only changes on that document should happen in atomic way. Before the update for a given document completes, you cannot update any other document. This is called as atomicity. It is like every update is an atom. Yeah, every update is an atom, and you cannot further divide the update. So if an update goes into the document, that document cannot have another update during that time. Okay, other documents can have updates, but that particular document cannot have update. Does that make sense? Two people simultaneously cannot change a single document in MongoDB. I'll explain. Suppose you have 5 documents. This is document 1, this is document 2, this is document 3, this is document 4, and this is document 5. And there are 3 people who wants to update these documents at different times. Shouldn't it affect other, right? It should not affect others. That's okay. One document update will not affect others. So this guy decides to update D1. While this guy is updating D1, second person can come and update D3. Okay. When the third person comes, suppose D1 and D3 are currently being updated in parallel. Then when the third person comes, he only have access to D2, D4 and D5. He can update D1, D2, D4 and D5. He cannot update D1 and D3. Once the lock from D1 is lifted, then this guy can come and later on update this D1. This is called as atomization of updates. Does that make sense? This is mostly with the writes. When you have writes or updates, you typically want atomization. You don't want to update the same documents. Two people should not come and update the same document simultaneously. Vivek, that does not make sense. Um, okay, do you want to unmute yourself and try to understand it better? That will be easier. Could you please unmute yourself, Vivek? Okay, Vivek is here. Let me invite him. Hello, Vivek. Are you speaking? Hello? Hello, Vivek, can you speak again? Sorry, I was not able to hear you. Can you speak one more time? Sorry. Let me see what is my microphone. Hmm. Let's try one more time. He's not audible. Okay. Let me try one more time. Vivek, can you try one more time? Okay, so let me state some basic facts first. Processes on a server can run in parallel. You understand what this means? What this line means, Vivek? Processes on a server can run in parallel. For example, your computer is running right now maybe 20, 30 programs simultaneously. Okay, it is not just like a single program that is running on your computer. A computer is very good at multitasking. Does that make sense, Vivek? Does that make sense? Multi-thread, multi-thread, and multi-process is also there. Multi-process there. Every process can have multiple threads, but all I'm saying is everything can run in parallel on a computer. Computer don't usually have a single thread that keeps on running. There are multiple processes, multiple things that are happening together. He's facing issue with pre-level Thompson. Okay, no worries, Ravindra. Let's hope he joins well. Hyperthreading, not hyperthreading. Hyperthreading is I'm not sure what hyperthreading is, but multi-processes, when you have multiple processes, like there's a Chrome browser, there is a MongoDB Compass. All of these are processes, but then each process can have multiple threads. For example, one thread is for this video, one thread is for the whiteboard, one thread is for something else. So there are multiple threads also. So that's the but the key point here is a computer is capable of running multiple processes, multiple instructions together. Think of them, yeah, think of them as multiple programs that are running on top of your computer together. Okay, suppose these three programs are running on your computer together. Now, each of these three programs have access to the DynamoDB database. All of them can have access to the DynamoDB database. And then three instructions of each program might be running together on the computer. Like one, do you have a Core i3? What is sorry, MongoDB? Whenever I say DynamoDB, I'm saying MongoDB because there is another database by Amazon AWS which is DynamoDB, and I keep on mixing the name between MongoDB and DynamoDB. Most of the concepts you are learning about MongoDB are applicable for DynamoDB as well. Anyways, so just like you have multiple processors on your computer, if you have Core i3 or i7 processor, they have 7 or 8 processors running together on your computer. So it happens that multiple instructions, one instruction is this, and then this. All three instructions are running together on your computer. They're not happening at different times. This instruction will not wait for this instruction to end before running. Okay, so everything is going parallel. But if three things are happening parallel, then the problem is all three of them can simultaneously write something in my document. Suppose my document contains amount. Okay, amount in your bank account. Initially the amount is 100. This process is saying I'll add 10 to the amount. This process is saying I'm adding 20, and this process is saying I'm adding 30. So what will happen? While this process is writing, this process comes and rewrites the data. So amount becomes 120. And this process has not yet terminated, and it terminates before. So so what happens is the document, while this process terminates, this process are already returned 20. So now the amount becomes 120, but this process has copied, it has read 100. So this is A, B, and C. A read 100 and decided to add 10 to it. So it should become 110. But before that, it could have done that. B read 120, B read 100, B read 100 and decided to add 120. So right now, and then it writes 120 into the amount. So 120 is written. But A don't remember that it has to read again. It has read 100 and it adds 10. So it comes and write 110 into this. Okay. So right now the amount becomes 110 instead of 130. And then 30 comes up and it tries to add 30 to it and it becomes 140. You see what has happened? Hello? You see what has happened? Hello, Vivek. Are you able to follow? Vivek, were you disconnected during this time? I was trying to help you out. Okay, can you unmute yourself once? Let me try to explain. Let me try to explain why you need atomicity. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. Hi.
Hi, Vivek. Yeah, let me.
Actually, I am facing a issue with the platform. I don't know what. Everything is fine on my side.
Okay, no worries. Sometimes the platform acts differently. No worries. So imagine, so you understand that is what kind of computer do you have, Vivek? Do you have i3, i7? What is the
i5
i5? What do you know what i5 means?
it's a generation of processor.
It has five cores. I mean, it has especially six cores, basically six processors which are running together. Okay,
Okay, okay.
you can think of that as six different programs are running together on your computer. They're sharing the same RAM, they're sharing the same cache, but they are running together.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they are also sharing MongoDB, sir, MongoDB database. Whatever DB you have, they're also sharing that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now imagine there are three programs A, B, and C. Okay, and there is a document on which all three wants to write something. This document have a single field which is the amount, and that amount is 100. For simplicity, let me write it like this. Okay,
Yes, sir.
this A is going to add 10 to it, B is going to add 20 to it, and C is going to add 30 to it. Okay, if all three of them goes through, what should be the final amount that you should get?
60. Yeah,
160, because
160.
you will add 10 then 20 then 30 to 100, so 160
Y-
should be the final amount.
Yeah.
But you know how things are written on computer? First you read it, then you update it, and then you write it. There are three steps: read, update, and write. Okay, read, update, and write. Read, update, and write. Okay, now the three processes are running together. The instruction will be a single instruction which says amount plus 100. There will be a single instruction which says amount plus 20, and there will be a single instruction which says amount plus 30. Okay,
Yes, sir.
now what will happen? This will first read the amount. It will read 100. Okay, while it is reading and updating the amount, B also reads the amount, because both of them have access to the document. Okay,
Yes, sir.
now A updates the amount to 110. Okay, and B updates the amount to 120. Both of them did this in parallel. Okay, so right now amount is still 100 because none of them have written anything. Then A goes and writes 110 in the amount, so amount becomes 110. Okay, and now B goes and it writes 120 because it has read the older value of amount which was 100. So now my amount becomes 120. And now C comes, it reads 120, it updates 120 to 150, and it writes as 150. So now my amount becomes 150. Okay. Okay, Vivek, do you see what where the things went wrong?
Yes, sir.
When you have operations that are happening simultaneously, you can have problems with the data if you are not locking up the data. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So now this is where atomicity comes into picture. Atomicity says while A is reading and updating the document, nobody else can touch this document, neither B nor C. Both of them cannot touch the document while A is writing on the document. So A will first read 100, write 110, and then free up the document. Then once the document is free, B will go and write 120. It will read 110, update it to 130, and then write it as 130. Once it has written 130 as amount, C can open up the document and maybe read 130, update it to 160 and write 160. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
yeah, when C is running, then B is also accessing value.
No, while B, once B has written, it is like this document will have only one user at a time. Once you have said that I'm going to read and write on this document, after you have completed your read and write, then only you can give your document to the next person, then to the next person. One person will have access to the document only one time, one at a time.
Yes, sir.
You remember there was Hindi movies where there will be Mithun Chakravarti and he will be fighting with bunch of villains or bunch of gundas, and he will say, "Come one by one, don't come all together." Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
that is exactly what is happening with this document. Each of the processes accessing that document one at a time. This is called
Yes,
as
sir.
atomicity. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
In DynamoDB, we have document level of atomicity. That means one document will be accessed by one process at a time. Two processes cannot write into a same document together. Okay, that is what atomicity is about. Okay, Vivek?
Yes, sir.
Sure. And now you can unmute yourself. I will go back to the chat.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Suraj, just fine. Video. Sir, understood what but please link with how it is connected with reference model.
Oh,
Like
sir.
one, yeah.
Sir, please unmute me because I'm clicking
Oh,
here,
yeah,
but
yeah. I'll end that one. Sure. Yeah. Like one core for one task at a time. None other code will work on it. Yeah. Now got it clearly. Joseph got it. Ankit, did you get it? Ankit, did you get Ankit Kumar? Okay. And understood what atomicity, but please link with how it is connected with the reference model. With reference model, yes. Uh, you have not fully understood. Suraj, do you want to unmute yourself? You can ask your question. Then I'll come back to Abhab's doubt. Oh, I'll come back to your doubt in few minutes. Yes, Suraj. Yes, Suraj.
हेलो
Yes, Suraj.
सर एक्चुअली मैं डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया था मेरा नेटवर्क स्लो था तो मैं आप थोड़ा समझा दीजिए फिर से
Okay, okay, okay. So the problem that is occurring is, uh, you understand these are the three processes which are running on the same
सर ए बी अंडरस्टैंड सर
AB. You understood why 150 was coming?
नो सर 120 अंडरस्टैंड सर
So basically what is happening is A and B are running together. A process and B process are running together and they're accessing the same document. First they will read the document, they will update it, and then they will write. So first A reads 100, updates it to 120, 110, and then writes it. So but before A could have written it, the value was still 100 in the document. Okay, and B comes up and reads 100. So it has not read the updated value, which is 110. It has read 100. It updates it to 120. And now A writes 110 on the document, but B overwrites it to 120. Okay. And then C comes up, it reads 120, updates it to 150, and then writes 150. So the final value becomes 150. Is the 150 figure clear, Suraj? A and B
यस
are
सर
running in parallel, they're happening together.
यस सर यस
Now, the solution to this process is to log the document. While A is reading the document, while A is writing to the document, B and C cannot access it. Okay, it is closed for B and C. B and C will have to wait. Okay. So
Okay, sir.
first A will read 100, then update it to 110. Once A has updated the value to 110, B will read the document and update it to 130. And once B has read the document, C will update it to 160. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
One person at a time will access the document. I have given an example of Mithun Chakravarti. He is fighting with bunch of gundas, and he says to the gundas, "Come one by one. Don't come all together."
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Okay, Suraj. Hmm. Then parallel processing won't happen. Yes, Hariyanan. Parallel processing won't happen in that particular document. Other things will work. Okay, so other documents it will work. So suppose there are 3 documents or 5 documents that are there in MongoDB, then other so and there are 3 processes. Let me write them as persons. I'm writing processes as the as people because I prefer that way. Then if this process is calling this document, then these 2 processes are free to call these 2 documents. They can access these 2 documents, these 4 documents. But unless this is completed, this document is locked for that much time. So these 2 processes will have to wait. This is what is called as atomicity. Okay. Parallel things will happen, but it will not happen completely. It will be like it will not be completely single threaded. It will be still some parallelism will be there, but it will not be 100%. Okay, there will be a gradients in there. Okay, sir, understood what atomicity is, but please link with what is how it is connected with reference model. Sorry, I was thinking about atomicity is some concept of reference model, but what it that it is in other topic. Yes, it is, but similar to that, Vaibhav. Now, in reference, you remember in reference there were 3 documents for a single user. There was a user document, there was a contact document, and there is access document. And suppose there comes a person who wants to update user, contact, and access all of them together. Then what you need to do is you need to lock all 3 of them by a single process. You need a single process that can lock all 3 documents. Okay. A user comes to your platform and decides to update his contact details, his access pattern, his name, his username, all 3 of these things. Then what you will need is a way to lock all 3 of them together. And once the processor updated all 3 of them, then only you can open all 3 of them. But in case of embedded, you only need to lock a single document. If you lock the key document, which is the user document, then you are good to go. If you lock one document, which is by default locked, you can update all the fields. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's the difference between embedded and reference in case of reference is more expensive in this case. Yes. If you want to lock it, it's more expensive. But can somebody tell me, can you do this process or not? Can you lock all 3 of them together or not? Is this possible in MongoDB? Can you lock all 3 of them together? In reference, we need to lock all necessary documents. But does MongoDB provide a way to do that? My question is, does MongoDB provide a way to lock all 3 documents? Yeah, there is a way. It's called as transactions. There's something called as transactions. Vivek, Vivek, yes. You again got disconnected. Vivek, you will have to work on your computer, internet or something. I'm not sure how I will be able to support multiple times when you leave the class. Maybe you can watch the video lecture, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Oh, yeah. Because if you get disconnected again and again, that the whole flow of the class will be broken. No worries. There is something called as transactions in MongoDB, and the idea behind transactions is that you can lock multiple documents together. Okay, no, it's okay. Okay, Okay, now it's okay. Then good. If you have any doubt, you can ask. But if your internet is getting connected, then you can discuss. Okay. Sure. So transaction, but you should really use transaction. Again, you can see that you're locking three different documents from three different collections. It's not a good idea to do it. So I still say that don't use transactions often. But there might be cases where you anyway have to use transaction. They're costly and they're bad. So don't use them. Okay. Now let's talk about uh, schema. So we have discussed how if you want to save the same data, what is transaction? Yeah, don't worry about it. Maybe there is some. Maybe you can clear up the cache and you can clear up browsing history and you can open it from a different browser, or maybe you can open it as incognito window. All those things can work out well, Vivek, sometimes. Or maybe if you're running maybe you're running a, what is it called, antivirus. If you are running an antivirus on your computer, Vivek, that might be causing a problem. See if there is something new. We have done that. We have done that. We have done that, Nilanjan. In the previous class, we have not done CRUD on MongoDB. Shall we do it today? We have done that, Nilanjan. We have done the CRUD operations on MongoDB. Everyone has. Uh, yes, we did that. Nilanjan, you were not there on Wednesday. I was there. We did update, read, delete, find, all of them we did. I've written it on the chat also. Those are called as CRUD operations. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I cannot cover all the documents, all the options I cannot cover because there are just infinitely many of them. But I gave you a good idea about how these functions work. That was my intention. It's not an intention to cover uh, each and every operator. Yeah. Anyways, but you can work out all the operators from that discussion. If you have any doubts, you can of course come to me. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Schema. Yeah, transactions means locking. That is true. I think current Quora is asking this question. Transaction means locking. Yes, transaction means locking across multiple operations and multiple documents. You can lock all of them. Can we share all command line link? Can you share all command line link? Yeah, I have written it in the I've written all the commands in the GitHub repo. You can take it from there, Vivek. All the commands I discussed are written in a MD file there. Yeah, sure. Uh, let's take a break now. Yeah, there is a cheat sheet. Of course, there's always a cheat sheet you can tell, and you can just go to. You can always go to our best friend Chat GPT. It will help you out. Okay, let's take a short break for dinner, and then we'll again meet at 9:30. 9:30, and then I'll talk about schema. Okay, I'll mute myself. How document will be logged? That is the implementation detail of MongoDB. I don't know how it logs it, but it does not allow the processors to open the document. Okay. That is true. Okay. See you at 9:30. Bye. Hello, students, and welcome back to the class. Good evening. Yes, let's get started. Hello, let's get started. So, there's one more concept that I want to spend some time on, which is uh, in MongoDB, you can pre-div. So, I have been talking about this for last 3-4 lectures about schema-lessness of MongoDB, schema-lessness of MongoDB. You don't need a schema. But in reality, what happens generally is people prefer to have a schema. So MongoDB natively does not provide you with a support for a given schema. MongoDB natively don't provide you with the support for a schema. But in reality, people prefer to have a schema. They like to write consistently into their database. And for that, there is something called as schema validation. Schema validation. This concept is, you'll come across this anytime you work with MongoDB. You are going to come across schema validation. Okay, and the concept is very simple. You can define what kind of data you will have in your data. What kind of data you will allow to be saved in a given collection, and that is called as uh, validation. Okay. So I'll create a, I'll show it to you on Compass instead of talking about it, because I think showing and telling is better than, showing is better than telling. So validation, I'm going to discuss that validation in few minutes. Just don't worry about it. Suppose I come to test and I open my Mongoose. In Mongoose, I define a new schema, a new collection. I call db dot, let me increase the font size, db dot collection, sorry, create collection. And in this, I define a collection called as contacts. And it's a very simple validation. Comma, validator, colon. We are going to discuss the rules for validator in just few minutes. Let me do shift enter. Dollar $or, and context can be either one of these three. Either it will be phone, which is of type string. I'll explain what is happening here in just a second. Okay, now what is, I don't like this. Let me define a simple function. db dot create collection, and let's call this as name. This is a, I'll just call it names, and this is a simple validator which says that a field called as name should be a string. So I'll just write dollar type is string. I enter this. Now if I do something like this, db dot names dot create doc, what is the function? Write insert one. Okay. In insert one, if I do something like name as Anshul, this will run very well. But if I do the same command and instead of Anshul I write name as 1 or maybe 42, this will say document failed validation. Document was not satisfying the validation. If you want to check what validation it failed, uh, validation is not clear to Vivek. Vivek, do you see what is the difference between these two commands that I have written here? This insert name as Anshul and insert name is 42. Yes. In one, I am sending a string, and in another, I am sending 42 as the number. And I've said that name should only be string. It should not be anything other than a string. So now uh, I cannot save anything other than a string in this name's data. Okay. No double quotes for none name. Okay. But if I just go again and instead of 42, I write 42 as a string, it will run through. So there are two names right now. If I do false, you get the idea. If I do false, it will fail because it's not a string. As long as it is a string, it will work. If it is not a string, it will not work. Got it. So this is called as validation, validation schema. Okay. I'll give you some more examples of validation. It works only like C++. Uh, is there a validator in C++ also? I mean, it's similar to. I mean, it's similar to the data type C++. What is schema? Schema is basically this collection of these validations. Here, yeah, yes, data types of C++. That is so. This whole collection of this here, this quantity here is known as a schema. From this curly braces to this curly braces. This is known as a schema of names data set, a names collection. Okay. Just give me 1 minute. Let me connect to this screen. Yeah, it is a schema of our name. That is true, Aradhya. It's the structure. You can think of a schema as the structure. A schema comes from the word scheme. You know, there's a word called as a scheme, which says how things should be in the world. So similarly, schema is how things should be in a collection. I'll give you another schema type. I'll write it in VS Code because that is better. That is a better place to write the code. Okay. And then I'll show it to you how it works. So I'll just okay. I'll just come here and just click on this, and I'll give you some examples of schemas using VS Code. So the first thing I'll do is I'll create a new file, new folder, CRM app, new folder. I'll just call it as oh, dot sorry, p dot data modeling in MOngo DB. In this, I define a new file. This file is called as schema validation. I can also call it as JS, but I'll just call it as MD. That's okay. Okay, so let me define a schema. A JSON schema will look something like this. Let me close this. Example of a JSON schema looks something like this. Dollar JSON and schema. JSON type is object. You have to write this. We're going to save an object in JSON. It can also be an array if you want, but I'm just using an object. And required, these fields are required. So if these fields are not there, this you cannot insert. Okay, name, email, and age. These three fields are required. And then there are properties about these fields. Let's talk about properties of these fields. First, you have a name. Name will have JSON type. Let me see if I can run this. Let me just write name and don't worry about rest of it. Schema shows the requirements. Yeah, schema shows the design of your data. Schema, you can think of schema as the design of the data. Okay. You have a string, and there are different min length is there. For example, min length is there. So it says that the minimum length is 2. The name should be at least 2 alphabets, and max length is 50. It should not be more than 50 words, 50 letters. Those are the properties. I don't want to write other properties for the time being, but I'll just write this. Now I'll copy this, and I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to share the whole screen actually. That is better because I don't want to share one again and again. So I'll just share the whole screen, and I'll keep on switching between different tabs. This you can see. Now I'll open this tab. Now I'm going to create another schema. I'll first drop the previous schema, previous collection. So I'll just do db.names.drop. No, I'll just do drop. If I do this, it is returned to. If I do show collections, user name is not there. Okay. Now I do db.create collection. Inside this, I'm going to say the collection is called as users, and then I'm going to do a validator colon, and here I'll paste the schema that I have written. Okay. Now this is, I'm going to press enter. What is the problem? Maybe there is a problem of colon. JSON schema validator. Why do we need a schema? Because we don't want random data in our, we don't want random data in we don't want random data in our database. Therefore, we need a schema. Seems to be correct. A comma missing, required field. Required field. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Sure. I'll again write it. No, I'll just click here, click up, and no, up. In this, I just go into required field and click a comma and enter. What is the problem? Name, properties, name, schema, JSON, schema, validator, properties, properties, name, and oh, this is string is wrong. I'll just again do this. Sorry, string should be double quotes. Yeah, double quotes. Again, made a mistake here. Yeah, this should be double quotes. I click enter and it says okay. Now this is another way of writing the same thing. Now I'll go back to my schema validator, update those two changes. First, there should be a comma here. Second, there should be a curly braces. This is called as uh, here is the schema. Uh, uh, yeah, schema. What it does, it creates a schema for name. So name should be a string between the length of 2 and 50 for our users collection. I'll show you how to write this. Uh, to create the users collection, create the users collection, write the following command. A following command should be written db.create collection, and in this you can assign users, comma, this one. Inside this is a validator, and inside this you can write whatever is written inside this. You can copy paste this part, and you can come here and paste it. Just give me 1 second. Let me copy this. This should go one step forward, and this should go one step back. Like, sir, we did write JSON type instead of just type on line number 10. Yeah, that is because JSON, when you write it in JSON schema, it's better to write it like this. This is just syntax. You don't need to worry about it. Okay, Aradhi. Uh, Schema is basically used for validation processes. Yes, that is true. Ekta, why did we write? Okay, sorry, Ekta has asked this question. Aradhya is like this. You can ask password to contain minimum digits. Yes, that is very good, Aradhya. You can. That's a good assignment for you. Try to write a password validator, Aradhya. Okay, try to write a password validator that will acquainted with you with bunch of ways of doing properties. Okay. And that means by specifying the schema, data cannot be inserted outside the value inserted in minimum and maximum length. That is true. Likhit, that is very true. Requires properties are inbuilt keywords. Yeah, these are inbuilt keywords of JSON schema. JSON schema has a schema of itself. This property here has a schema of itself. It should have a basin type. It should have it should have bunch of required fields, and it should have properties about other fields. For example, name is there, but there can also be another property. Let's have another property. Say email, and then there's a property called email, and then email can be interesting. Email can be bson type string. And can you tell me uh, how will you implement a email checker? It should or it may or may not have all these. Required should be present. It should have a name. Yeah. Type should be not, type should not be email. There is no email type as such in bson. Yes. No, it requires is required also. Email is not required. If email is not written here, email is not required. You can do away with email. You can just insert one name. But if you are inserting an email, it should be a string, and there should be another complex type. There should be a type testing for email. Can somebody tell me how you will do that? Email is required. It contains an at the rate. That is true. Asking for at the rate, it must have at the rate. That is okay, but can you think of a thing that can do the solution very easily? I mean, it can solve the problem for you. This is basically a kind of problem that, yes, regex, that's true. But now what you are looking for is a pattern. There's a pattern keyword that you can use, and this pattern keyword will use a regex inside it. So first thing that you're looking for is uh, either a small case alphabet or a large case alphabet, uh, a large case alphabet, or 0 to 9, either one of these, or an underscore, or it can also be a dot, it can be a plus, or it can be a minus. All of these are possible, and they will happen a plus number of times. So they will happen few number of times. These characters can come for a bunch of times. Once they are over, there should be an at the rate. After at the rate, there should be a domain name, which is A to Z, 0 to 9, minus, and then there can also be plus option. That can happen for some time. And then there will be a stop. There will be a period. So there are three components. There is one username, then there is at the rate, then there is website name, and then there is .com or something. So we can just write it as A to Z, some subdomain, A to Z, 0 to 9, dash dot, and then there will be a plus, and then there will be a dollar, which says this is the end of the document. This is that pattern should start here and end here. There should not be any leading spaces or any other character in this email. This is regex. Regular expression, current. Regular expressions are called as regex. How should we write in regex? What's the format? So regex is itself a different language that you can learn. But basically the idea is uh, there are different characters which have different meaning. For example, this character here, you see this character means that whatever comes after this should be the start of whatever comes after this character should be the start of the string. Okay. uh, no need or before at the rate. At the rate we don't have written any before. Yeah, I have not written I have not written backspace before at the rate. I have only written backspace before this dot here, before at the rate dot, because dot before. So, Likhit is asking what? Likhit, what is it? Yeah, there's no need for at the rate before at the rate. At the rate is not a special character, whereas dot is a special character. Dot means something should occur only once, or at least it should occur 0 times or 1 time. So we have dot. There is also a plus operator which says something should occur at least more than once. So these operators are there. You can learn about regex. Maybe I can show you how to learn about regex. Um, regex in JS. Okay. So there's a regex reference. You can read about it. It is very useful. So like also look where there's a close bracket ABC. That means find any character between the brackets. Any characters of ABC is possible. You can write it as like this. Okay, look. Okay, I mean, just let me show you regex. Regex compiler. Compiler. Test build and debug regex. You can just go to this. Okay, regular expression. So if I just write a string, say unsure, it is a regular expression that can take unsure as a string. This is a correct string. But if I write unsure, it will not take. Okay, this is incorrect. This is correct. Okay, if I say unsure, but at the end I can have either y or z. Okay, so now this is another regular expression that I have created. Now both of them are not correct strings, but if I write unshul capital Y, this is a correct string, and if I write unshul capital Z, this is also a correct string. But if I write unshul say Y, it is not a correct string. You see what I'm doing here? Okay, I'll zoom it. Just give me 1 second. Yes. So you can just go to regex 101 and try out different types of regex. Why am I not able to take it out? Mm, move tab to new window. Okay, I'll just click on this and I'll just minimize this. Open the chat. Why need Y and Z? Y and Z, I'll tell you why we need it. Just give me 1 second. So whatever regex you write here will come, can be tested in the next lines. That's the funda behind this regex compiler. Come on, this is very slow. Look at the movie that I have created. Just give it few seconds. Yeah, now it is good. Now I'll open it to this point. Okay, I'll increase the font size. So I just go here and do control plus plus. Yeah, now it is good. Look what is happening. Let me clear out everything. Ping 990. Okay, so suppose I'm looking for numbers, then I can do 0 to 9 and then I can do plus. That means I need at least one or more numbers. So 0 is a valid number. This is a valid string. But if I do 098 ABC, this is not a valid string. It should be all numbers. Okay. Now I can do much better than that. I can also have numbers and alphabets. So I can do A to Z and 0 and 9. And I can also have A to Z capital and 0 to 9. And I can say that my string starts with these characters. Okay. But it should also have an at the end. So now all of them are not agreeing. But if I now write something like unshul y at the rate, if you want to include dash, you can just do dash also. You can just write dash inside this. Now you can include dash also. We can have a complicated and detailed validator as we can have as, yeah, that is it lagging for everyone or is it just Vivek? You can have much complicated, but it will not be as complicated uh, as a programming language. It will not be totally complicated. Just give me 1 second. Let me check my internet it should be working fine. Yeah, it's it's just like nested JSON. Yes. Uh, it cannot have loops. One thing it cannot. One thing. Okay, you can have some loops, but it becomes a little difficult. You can have a very complicated validator, but you cannot have an infinitely complicated validator. It is not as expressive as a programming language. Okay, so you can have, yeah, you can have nested JSON. You can have this. That is true. That is true, Ekta. No, you want it just like nested JSON. Yes, yes, that is true. You can make it grow as large as you want. So I hope you understand regular expression. I don't have time to go into everything about regular expressions, but basically the idea is you can have different characters to match different kinds of strings, and that is all there is to regular expressions. Okay, so going back to this is how I can match a this is how I can match a email address. Now I'm going to copy this and paste it in my validator to show you that it indeed works. So I'll just collect it and I'll just paste this. And now, unless I write a email address, let me write Anshul Yadav. This is not my exact email address at gmail.com, gmail.com, and then it works. As long as you are writing a email address, it will work. But if you don't write an email address, it will not work. Okay. This is how you can test for email addresses. Going back to the JSON compiler, you can write this pattern. And now what does this schema means? This schema means your users should have a name and can have this. The schema means that the user should have a name, must have a name, must have a name, which is a string, and of the length between 2 and 50. Also, there can be an email address in the JSON. There can be an email address in the JSON which should comply, which should agree with the regex. Okay, so those are a couple of things that you have. Regex101.com is very helpful website. You can always visit it. And if you ever get worried about if you are not able to write a regex, you can just write it on. You know what I'm talking about. You can just go to Chat GPT and say I want a regex for email addresses, and it will give you a regex for email addresses. You don't have to worry about uh, writing it yourself. You can write a complicated. You can write a complicated logic, and that logic can also be taken care of in regex. So I'll just, yeah, that is true. Can you please write the regex? That is true. I've been shouting out regex. I've been shouting out ChatGPT for such a long time. Can you please write the regex in JS Java script format for an email validator. If I do this, it will write the regex for me. And here's the regular check A to Z, 0 to 9. All of these should not be there. All of them can be there. It should be between 0 to, I mean, all of these are there, any number of them. And then there should be at the rate. And then there should be a complicated logic. Okay. So, yes. And there should be a dot. And there should be a bunch of other. This should reoccur several times. So you see what is happening. This is the username. Before this, everything is the username. This part is the I'm not able to select parts in this. Before everything, before what's question mark? Question mark means it means there should be at least one of it. One or more is what question mark is. Okay. So this is a complicated logic for regex for email. What is regex just right now? This is regex is regular expressions that give you a way to validate strings, and I have written this is the regex for email validator. Okay, I was talking to students about how you can validate the strings that you are writing. For example, if you have a email address that you need a validation for, you can write a regex in patterns field, and it will agree to that regex. Unless you write an email address, you will not be able to insert something here. Okay, that was the logic I was talking about, Joseph. And then I went into a tangent when I was talking about regex101.com, which is a website where you can check your regex. And then I said you don't always have to write your regex. You can just uh, you can directly get the regex by ChatGPT. Line 32 pattern. Yeah, that is the regex for email addresses. Yeah, yeah. This is a pattern for email addresses. First, you can have a username, which is here. This part is username. There can be a bunch of alphabets or numbers, and the string should start with them. Then there should be an at the rate. Then there should be a subdomain. Uh, where names and email are no names and emails are fields for names and emails are fields for the documents that you are going to save. They are not collections. Collection is only users. Users is the collection. Name and email are fields inside the documents for user collection. File save. I don't like this when it says it. I want prettier to be off. Can you just turn? I don't want to make my height prettier. Status bar. No, I want to click on prettier here. How can I turn off my prettier? Control P. Disable it. No. No. Search. No, I can. I think I know how to do it. There's a. I can just go to manage. I can click on extensions. Inside extensions, there should be prettier that I've installed. Inside prettier, I should be able to change. I can disable this. That is good. I just come here and save this guy. No, No, this is not how. Prettier is not causing the. Okay, reload. Okay, I save this one more time. No, it is working fine. So we are good. Huh. I actually, what I have done is I have made it auto pretty. So what I've done is every time I click on prettier, every time I save it, my documents get prettied automatically. But I don't like that happening with the MD file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to prettier. I'm going to go to prettier, and there should be a service called this extension settings. And inside this, there should be workspaces, no settings found. Uh, no, I just go to this, enable this, and now there should be a way of selecting which language you are prettying. So I this document add item. Yeah. Mm, I'm not sure. There should be a way, but I'm not sure how it is going to work. I'll work it out on my own in my own free time. But yeah, again the prettier has started. Sorry, let's control as this, reload it, and I'll save it like a good person. Okay, so that's how you can do validation. You can do bunch of validations. I can discuss more validations, but the key idea to note is you cannot have. There are a couple of things that you can note about it. How to add documents validation for existing collection. That is true. So what you can do is there are some commands you can use called as call mod collection modification, COLMOD. If you use that command, you can modify a collections validation. Okay, uh, that one how to use. Yeah, I'll show it to you. Uh, to create a validator for existing documents. Okay, so there is a command. There is a command called collection modification, call mod, which can be used to update the validator for an existing collection. Okay, I'll show you how to use this command. Basically, what you do is I'll just go back to the here. Here I'm going to do db dot call. Sorry, call mod. Is there a call mod command? Call mod. It's not. Run command. Run command is there. Inside run command, I can say uh, I want to update. I want to run call mod on users, and inside this user, I can send the new validator which I'm looking for. That's it. This time I decide that I'm not going to validate anything other than that my name should be a string, dollar type string. My name should be nothing but a string. If I do this, this should be inside quotes, of course. If I do this, my validator will change. And now, inside my user collection, db.users.validate insert one. Inside my user collection, I can insert a single word, a single letter name. So I can do name, say name is A, and it will get inserted. If I go back to the validator that I have written previously, so what I'll do is I'll do db dot run command. How it is different from previous validator, I can show it to you. In the previous validator, my name should at least have two letters. It should not be less than one letter. The length of name string should not be less than two. Okay, I'll show it to you. I'll just run the call mod command again on user table, and this time validator is, and I'm going to paste the validator that I have written previously, which is this validator. This JSON schema thing, if I copy it, we can use call mode versus without call mode difference. Uh, how is it different? No, so with call mode you can use a different validator. So for an existing table you can use a different validator. If I do this now, if I insert the same, if I try to insert this, it will say document failed validator. Okay, so what I'm talking here about is, Avijit, that you have an existing collection and then you want to update your validator. In that case, what you need to do is you need to pass a new validator to call mod function. Now, if I insert a document with AA, if it's Anshul, it will run perfectly fine. I can insert Anshul. I can also insert Anshul, comma, email. Maybe email I can insert as Anshul at gmail.com. This will work fine. But if this comes here instead of this at the rate, if I remove and I say Anshul G, this will not get inserted because this is not an email address. You see how I can update the schema that is present before. And there are a bunch of validation levels that you can set. Okay, while you are validating a schema, and there are a bunch of validation levels. One is where you can have a moderate validator, which means all the documents that were previously there will not be modified. Only the new documents uh, will be checked against the validator. Yeah, validation level. I'll talk about validation level. Why Anshulji failed? Because email is not in the format that I'm looking for. Email is bad. Okay. That therefore Anshulji failed. You see how I can change the I can modify the validator. I just give you the options for validation here. Yes, exactly, Nilanjan. That's true. That is exactly why you need validation. I'll show you how this validation. Can you paste it? Can you paste it, chat? In ChatGPT, do you want me to paste it in? If new validation on the previous talks does not approve them, what would happen to those documents? Yeah, this is a good question, and this is where I want to come to, Vishal. Let me open the ChatGPT, and I'll show you validation levels. Validation levels. Yeah, a purpose of call mod is to modify the collection. You can change the properties of the collections after defining it. That's what call mod is. And when I'm changing the property for a single for the validation, I'm using call mod because I want to change the validation level. Okay, does that make sense? Call mod, collection modification. Aradhya? Like changing it. Yes, that is true. Like when you are changing the schema, you use call mode. Okay. So now there is something called as validator and there is something called as validation level. Now let's look at validation levels options. This is how you should read the documentation. If it is off, no validation for insert or update. If it is strict, default apply validation rules to all inserts and all updates. This is going to apply it for all the inserts and all the updates, whether they happen before or later. In which case, what it means is uh, you will get an error if you try to change the validation with a strict schema if it does not agree with the previously added documents. Moderate is usually the case which you use. Apply validation rules to inserts and to updates on existing valid documents. Do not apply rules to updates on existing invalid documents. That means whatever is present, if it is not correct, I don't worry about it. That is what moderate means. I let it be. Okay, Vishal? You have three options. Either you can discard all the documents that have come before, which are not agreeing with your schema. And unless you have discarded all of them, the validation will not go through. Second is you can do a moderate validation, in which case all the existing documents are okay, but new documents you are going to be strict with them. Can you tell me one place where this happens in real life? I mean, not just code, but where does this kind of validation happens in, say, politics or real life? Have you ever seen how laws update? If there is a new law and you have broken that law before it was being implemented, that's okay. You are not charged with that crime. But if you break the law after it has been implemented, then you are charged with the punishment. So that same thing is happening here also. If a document has come before you have updated the validator, that's fine with moderate validation level. And if it came before it, that's fine. But if it comes after, then you will charge that. You will not let it insert. Using plastic bags. Yes, like using plastic bags. It doesn't matter how many days you have been using plastic bags. As soon as the government says you cannot use the plastic bag, that means you cannot use any further. Okay. Look at this validation action. There are different types of validation actions that you can apply. Typically, there are two types of them. One is error and the other is warn. Uh, Either you can stop execution or you don't allow any bad document to be inserted, or you can have a simple warning every time there is a validation error. So you can allow bad implementation, but you will get notified about it. Both of those are options on validation. What should MongoDB do when there is a validation error? Should it throw an error and stop execution on that request, or should it just warn you about it and let the request pass, let the document get saved? And action applied on top of level we choose. Yes, exactly. Action gets applied on top of the level. All the people who are breaking the law, should you give a break warning to them, or should you put them in the jail and not let them roam around? That's what validation action is about. First is who should be punished, and second is what should be the punishment. Should it be a warning or should be a capital punishment? Okay, that's the difference. So that's how you can do validation schema. There are some ways of bypassing this also, but I don't want to discuss that. That's just so. There are two terms uh, in general awareness. There are two terms that people usually talk about. One is called as general knowledge, and another. So there are two terms that you can remember. One is called as general knowledge. Uh, This is good. And there is also uh, Jabra knowledge. This is any knowledge which is not useful. Okay, so in computer science, this will happen a lot. You will have a lot of general knowledge and a lot of Jabra knowledge. You don't need it, but you are just remembering it, and it will not serve any utility. For example, somebody can ask you a question like, "What was the full name of Mahatma Gandhi?" Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. That's general knowledge. But if somebody asks you, how many days in a year does Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi eat a prodigy? Or how many times in a year does he eat khichdi? Now that's general knowledge. Nobody needs that information. And, yeah. So similarly, there is a lot of general knowledge that you can come across in coding. And it's okay to avoid it. I want to spend some time talking about types of relationships in I can talk about relationships and what type of questions to expect on MongoDB in interviews. You can be asked questions about MongoDB's. That's a difficult thing to answer. You will be asked a question, so there can be different kinds of questions. One question is very pinpointed about specific properties of MongoDB. Yeah, you can have particular questions like what kind of database it is, how does it store data, what do you understand by NoSQL databases, what do you understand by document based databases. All those kind of basic questions can come. Then it can come like how does atomicity happens in MongoDB. All those kind of pointed questions can come about MongoDB. Or then there can another case where people can ask you to actually design a data set in an interview. Like they can ask you to design a database for a particular problem, and they can ask you what kind of a schema are you going to use in this database. So that question is are different kind of, those are the two types of questions: pinpointed and case study based. Okay, Vijay. And this is typically the way questions are asked in most of the non-DSA domain. Most of the non-DSA domain, they will ask you either very pinpointed question or they will put a cases where you need to solve it. I want to spend some time talking about relationships. Relationships in MongoDB or relationships in databases. There are three types of them. One is one-to-one. This usually comes in case of uh, reference type. It can also come in case of, I'll just discuss this. One-to-one, in which, for example, every person has one contact detail. Are joins applied on reference types? That is true. You need to apply joins if you need to access more than one collection. How to prepare for interviews? The best way to prepare for DynamoDB interview is to actually use DynamoDB on bunch of projects. So all these topics that you are discussing, the best way to prepare for them is to just apply them. Don't try to remember things, but try to just apply them on different projects. Ideally, Deepak, you should not be ever thinking about interviews. Ideally, interviews should only be about salary negotiations, nothing else. Interview for you should be actually equal to salary negotiation. Rest everything is just bullshit. Okay, that should be the level of preparation. You should have created so many apps, so many websites that anything you ask me, I will be able to answer it. You will be thinking what is the what is the price I can hire this person at? And that should be the way you should approach interviews. You should not just spend 6 months preparing for interviews. That's a bad way to do it. The good way to do is just start working somewhere. Okay. Yeah, just start getting some projects. Always talk about freelancing. Just go outside, make some projects, build something. If somebody is not buying it, you just put it online. Just make something and it will. mm. Yeah, there is something called as space, backspace S. You can do backspace s. This will accept a space in MongoDB. And then you can do a star in front of it. So as many spaces you want, you can apply Nilanjan. Backspace s, you can use there. Okay. If you don't have experience, how do you negotiate? The best way is to just get experience from somewhere and work there very well, or just get some where to apply it before. Yeah, before at the rate. There should not be any space in email addresses. I don't understand. Why do you want space in an email address? Email address don't allow spaces. Name. Name does not contain at the rate. Name will be something like this. A to Z, A to Z, 0 to 9, and then you will have maybe space. 0 to 9 is also not needed. You will just have A to Z, A to Z. Oh, you need a space between. So you can do A to Z, then backspace S, and then A to Z, A to Z. This will work. And there should be a plus here and plus after that. Yeah, that you can do. So there are three types of relationships in databases. One is one-to-one. For example, every user uh, have an email address or email address and phone number. And every email address and phone number is linked to one user. One user have one email and one phone number. And I mean, you can just think of it like this. I know some of you might be saying every person can have multiple username, multiple email addresses, and multiple phone numbers. But for the timing, just assume that everyone has one. And one email address and phone number corresponds to one user. Another, and then there is one to many, in which case, one to many. In one to many, there can be a single user which can have multiple books that he is writing, a single author for multiple books. Okay. And then a single author can write multiple books. And then there is many to many. Many to many is basically uh, a task list. You can think of a task list. A user on a task list. You can think of Jira if you like. You can think of Jira software. Every user can have bunch of tasks that he defines. Okay, a user can define multiple tasks, and then each task can have multiple users who are defined to that task. So a user can have multiple task IDs, and a task can have multiple user IDs. Or if multiple people can write books, then a book can have multiple authors. So these are different kinds of relationships. For one-to-one relationships, the data used by reference and by embedding is same, because every user has only one uh, email and one phone number. So only one unit here and one unit here. But if it is one to many, then what will happen is, suppose every book wants to remember who is the author of that book, then the author field will be duplicated across multiple books. You see what I'm saying? The author field will be duplicated across multiple books because multiple books have same author. This is where embedded data sets will have a problem in saving data. They will have to save a lot of data. References will not need that problem. They will just save the author ID, and author details will be saved in the author table. Does that make sense, Vivek? Karan? Nilanjan, does that make sense? So this is what I was talking about before when I was talking about this idea that there's no repetition in references, but there can be repetitions in embedded data sets. Didn't get that. Could you repeat? Yeah, I can repeat that. Suppose I go back to this. Let me add a slide. Suppose I'm saving details about an author and books. I'm saving details about books. I'm not saving details about authors. I'm saving details about books. A single author can write multiple books. There are two ways. I can either save all the details about the book in, I can have ID, which is some ID, and then I have book name or title. Some title is there, and then author, which will be a bunch of details. First will be the name of the author, the age of the author, maybe the gender of the author. Okay. And then author detail, book detail, and there will be some description. I'll not write description. This is one way of doing it. Okay. The other way is to have book ID, book name, and author ID. Now, author ID will contain a number 1, 2, 3. And that this is my book collection. And then there can be a author collection, where you will have ID as 1, 2, 3. This is the author ID, which is same as here. And then you will have the name of the author, the age of the author, and the gender of the author. You see the difference between these two types of data definitions. In this case, no matter how many books this author would have written, this copy will be single. There will be a single copy for this author in the author collection. And every time he writes a book, only the author ID gets updated into that books or books document. But here, every book that he has written, there will be an author, and the author field will contain all the details about the author. This will be copied across multiple books. This is what I mean when I say that there will be data duplication when there is one-to-many relationship. Does that make sense, Nilanjan? One-to-many and many-to-one is outside the schema detail, Avijit. You cannot specify. I think you can specify basically which property should meet, but I'm not sure how you can do that. You can say that the object ID is basically, so you can say that author ID is an object ID type, and say that it is a type with object ID. But more than that, I'm not sure how you can match the one-to-many relationships. Okay. Embedded thing you can obviously define, because you can say that author is an object which contains these properties, and you can have nested schema, but you cannot. I don't know how you can do the referencing thing. Okay. Okay, Vijay. Embedded in is in many to many. References is just for analysis purposes or not for to save space. Yes, that is true, Vishal. That it saves place. It saves space also. That is also there. Sometimes you also need to save space, so you use references. How to make my DB reference type then? There should be a type called as object ID. You can say type as object ID. You can just say that author ID is of type object ID. Okay, if you do this, you can say that your author ID will always be an object ID. Other than that, you cannot do anything about it. Okay. It will not be okay that object ID. So object ID is a type in MongoDB. There are a bunch of types in MongoDB. There is a string, there is number, there's date, there's timestamp, there's binary data, there's boolean, null, regular expression, JavaScript, min key, max key. Yeah. For unique values. Yes. I've discussed object ID last time. Have I discussed object ID last time? Yeah. But saving space is not the primary purpose of choosing reference type. Yes, that is true, Vishal. That is not the primary purpose. That is true. So in embedded, each document is absolutely independent of other document, and it takes a to save them. That is true, Ekta. But what is the benefit? Can you tell me what is the benefit of saving the whole document together? Ekta, can you tell me that? I would love to hear it from you. Why don't you want to save the whole document? Sharding is easier, that is true. But what is a general answer? What gets speed up? Which operation gets the speed up if you do this? Yeah, searching, finding and searching gets easier. You just have to get the single. If you do a find operation on a single user ID, you can get it very quickly. That is why you have this. It helps in hash horizontal scale. That is, can you explain the lookup syntax once for joins? Lookup syntax once for joins. Uh, that I also have to look that up. Just give me 1 second. Um, But if we have more, I have so much data together, won't searching? No, that won't be a problem, Ekta. It will be a constant multiplication, but it won't be like order of n. It will still be there will be a constant factor increase, but it will not be too much. Okay. Example of join and I just searched and found that lookup used for joins. Uh, yes, I'm also looking it up. Let me refresh. I've never done lookups in join. Um, yes. Please. So you can do like this. Okay. So it has local field, foreign field that I'm not getting. I'll explain. Don't worry. I'll explain. Just give me 1 second. I'll share my whole screen again. Um, I'll close this. I'll just come here. Let me define two tables first, or maybe I can just define. Let me see what collections I have. Uh, show, no, show, show collections. These are the collections I have. So what I say is, let me define. I've already defined some kind of things. So just give me 1 second. Uh, Let me do orders. Order dot find. I'll just do db dot order. db dot order dot db dot order dot find. There's nothing. Let me save an order. Uh, db dot order dot insert one. And let me save a order. Say what is the order? Order will have an order ID, and I'll just have a product field. I'll let the product be a pen. Okay. Now this is the object ID that I have. Let me copy this object ID. I'll need this. Uh, how do I copy it? I'm not able to copy this. Okay, I'll just copy this. Control C. Hmm. Selections. I come here and my mouse is not working, so that's why I have to do all this drama. Now in this I can do db.user, db.users. I'll just do db.user.find first. A bunch of users. Now here I can do uh, so here I'm going to do db.user.insert1, and in this I'm going to insert a new user. Let me call him as Avijit, and then for Avijit I'm going to save an order ID, and this order ID is actually equal to what order I have saved. Okay, now I enter this, so this gets inserted. Now the next thing that I do is I can do db. This was a reference type. That is exactly true. Now you have a reference for that object order in the order type. Now what you can do is user dot join uh, user dot join. What are you going to join? db dot order, comma, order ID. Order ID should match the ID of the order. In the order table, the ID should match with uh, the order ID in user table. And after this, once you have done this, uh, you can just look at orders, and from orders you can do $push and $product, and no, wait a second. ID should match the order ID. Order ID. From orders you can push the product, and that should be just fine. I might also want to convert it into array, but that's okay. I made some mistake in this order. Oh, there should be a comma here. Here a comma. Join is not a function. db.user dot join is lookup. Join should be a function. It's not a function. Okay, let me use lookup. Oh, okay, just give me 1 second. I might have to check the documentation for this. Just give me 1 second. Hmm. Yeah, I'm going to check the documentation. This why is this? I'm looking for this documentation. Okay, there's an aggregate function. Sorry. I'm sorry. I was aggregate. Sorry. Cancel. My computer has started working weirdly. Aggregate. Sorry. So this is how you can do it. No. Uh, Let me do it myself. I'm not happy with this. So you can do something like this: db.user, db.user.aggregate, and inside this you can define a table. And in this table, you can do lookup. Dollar lookup. And lookup is also from something. From lookup from for a user, lookup from orders. Order. And what do you look up from order? Hmm. User ID v dollar underscore ID. Uh, no. Okay. So I don't need this. Uh, okay. I need the order ID. So uh, order underscore ID should be equal to dollar underscore dollar order underscore ID. Was that the order ID that I pushed? Yeah. Save the order ID in a variable order ID. And what you can do is pipe. This is very complicated to write a pipeline for this. I don't want to discuss this. Sorry. Sorry, I don't want to discuss this. This is very complicated, and you can do it. You can just create a join between different tables, but it is not advisable. If you have to do this, none. If you have to do this, this will take a long time. I don't want to talk about it if it's. I can discuss it in an individual case, but in the class, I don't think it's useful. Sorry, Avijit. Basically there's a pipeline concept that you have to look up, and it's advanced concept. Yeah, that's true, Nilanjan. It's very advanced, and there are multiple tables that you need to join. But it's not just advanced. The only thing is, the other problem with this is, uh, it is outside the scope of what we are discussing today. The details of aggregation, if this was in the syllabus, I would have discussed it. I don't know where aggregation is used in general. So yeah, if you have to use this kind of logic in MongoDB, then you're not using MongoDB properly. Typically you should have a single logic which hits a single document and returns you the document directly. This is how you should use MongoDB. Anyways, I'll read more about aggregation, and maybe if it is useful, I'll discuss in uh, yeah, yeah, aggregation. I'll read more about aggregation, and if it is needed in the class, I'll discuss it more. Okay. Sorry, Avijit, I was not able to answer your question properly, but yeah, it was very complicated. I had to discuss multiple concepts before discussing how the join works. Anyways, that's it for today, students. I hope you have enjoyed the class. I hope to see you again in the next class, and I hope you are learning MongoDB properly this time. Okay. Yes. Okay. Bye, everyone. This join will be taken care of by Mongoose, I think. Yeah, Mongoose will do it. Mongoose will take it. Yeah, classes in the morning. There's a class in the morning at 10 a.m. So see you in the class, and then again, good night. See you. Bye. When we'll start connecting on Go in VS Code. In the next class is on indexes. After that, we'll start with Mongoose. Tomorrow we'll talk about indexes in MongoDB, Nilanjan, and then we'll get started with Mongoose. Monday onwards we'll start, and then very soon we'll have the whole app ready. Maybe in next 2 3 weeks we'll have the whole app ready. Only the thing was MongoDB was a new topic, so it had bunch of chapters that needed to be covered. Other than that, everything has been covered, so you can quickly pick up the uh, whole course. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. We have learned so far, so we can run. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you for coming. Good night. Bye. Good night. Abhijit has a doubt. Let me check. Yeah, Abhijit has written the join statement. Very good, Abhijit. Uh, from product field, this, local field, foreign field. Yeah, I know. And it's a little complicated, so I don't want to discuss it. Anyways, bye everyone. Yeah, local field is for the current table, and foreign field is for the foreign table. I think I'm not sure. Maybe local field is for the products table, and foreign field is for the ID table. I don't know. Anyways, bye everyone.